Gotcha. All right. Everybody, I'm so excited because I have one of my NABJ sisters with me. Her name is Stephanie Humphrey, and she is Tech Steph. You can see her on ABC in the mornings on the Good Morning America 3. I think that's right, right? And then also
GMA3, yeah.
GMA 3, right? And then also with Strahan and Kiki, and what's the other host name? I forgot.
Stray Hair Sarah and Kiki, which became GMA3,
Okay,
and then Good Morning America too.
keep me straight. I cannot keep up, but I know what you have been on a rocket, Stephanie. I'm so proud of you. And we
Thank
have stayed
you.
connected by LinkedIn. I see your videos, they're so helpful. And you've been helping people out since 2012. Everybody say hello to Stephanie.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, Stephanie, we want to get into it, but there is something that caught my eye online that you do, and it's Till Death Do You Tweet. You've been doing
Yes.
this for some time. Can you tell us what that is?
So, Till Death Do You Tweet is a workshop for students, parents, or professionals that helps them become better digital citizens through responsible social media use. I mean, it's insane to think that in 2021, we still have people doing these things on social media that get them fired, that get their scholarships revoked, that get them arrested, all of these different things. And also that cause suicides and other
Yeah.
forms of that type of harm as well. So Till Death Do You Tweet seeks to mitigate as much of those things as possible by helping people understand the consequences of their online behavior and how all of that folds into their personal brand.
Yeah, and my show is where tech, business, and culture collide. So
Mhm.
we have seen a lot of people losing jobs lately.
Ciao. Well, you just
I hate to
heard
laugh, but
the latest is with Kellyanne Conway
yeah.
and her daughter and their little back and forth on social. But apparently, she shared this topless photo of her daughter recently, and
Online, like out
allegedly,
for people to see?
and allegedly accidentally.
Okay.
But she's under investigation for that now
Wow.
because
You
her
know
daughter's
what?
a minor, and it's like, how this picture get out?
Woo!
So it's real in these digital streets.
It's real. And before we get too deep in this hot soup, because the soup is getting hot already, what do you think we have a culture soup moment, Stephanie?
Yes, let's do it, please.
Awesome.
We need a
Well,
moment.
girl, look. So much has been happening in 2020, 2021. We're not even a month in. And we have seen all the drama.
Yes.
Until death do you tweet. We've seen some deaths. Some virtual deaths
Hmm.
based on what people are tweeting. You know what? I want to talk about this DC riot terroristic thing that happened at our Capitol. And what
Yeah,
amazed me so much, because it was all over the internet, and this is how the FBI is catching these folks.
that's
They
right.
literally shared on social.
They were streaming. There were people that were actually live streaming the coup, basically. And I tell you, people think of TikTok as this Gen Z platform,
No.
but those TikTok detectives,
Yes.
when I tell you they have been hunting people, they have been using
Yes.
all of the, you know, information they can gather publicly on the internet. The FBI needs to hire some of those TikTok
Yes.
digital forensicists, because they have been doing the work. Let me
Yeah.
tell you, of taking one snippet of a photograph or a video and then being able to find that person's job, their home address, their school, their supervisor.
Yeah.
It's amazing
It's
what
amazing.
internet is capable of. I
Well,
tell
and
you,
it's
it really is.
interesting too because you mentioned TikTok. I love TikTok. I think TikTok.
Love
I know
TikTok.
people are all hooked on Clubhouse right now, but TikTok
Yeah,
is the innovation, okay?
TikTok is the jam.
It's
Yeah.
just beautiful to see people create. Now, watching them cross pollinate data that they find on Twitter.
Mhm.
The intersection of TikTok and Twitter are so amazing to me. But you're
Yep.
right. I read and I also heard on the news that the FBI's job has been a little easier because they can identify people so well on social, and you have people that are like, see, there they are. This is the
There
one.
they go. Yep. And then and matter of fact, here's where they work, and here's
Yes.
this, and here's that, and here's that. It's so crazy. It's funny when last summer when all the George Floyd protests were happening, I'm here in Philadelphia. There was a woman who I think she threw a rock at a police car or something to that effect. And I use her example as a case study in my presentation now because they were able to, based on a photograph alone, they saw her T-shirt. They used Etsy
Wow.
to find who sold that T-shirt.
Etsy.
They were able to see a tattoo on her arm,
Whew.
and between they could identify the tattoo. So they were able somehow to track down where she worked, and they saw a picture on her job's website of
Wow.
her arm in a shot because she was like a massage therapist, and they saw like the things that they were able to piece together to find and arrest this woman were just astounding to me.
It's amazing. And I go back to when the Black Lives Matter movement just cranked up on Twitter with the hashtags for Trayvon Martin and some others. And it used to be that they would say, Black Twitter will drag you. And yeah, we'll do that. But you're right. Gen Z has just taken this Hector Protector, Inspector Gadget thing.
It's interesting though, because you balance that with the whole idea of cancel culture.
Yeah.
And it's tough because you want to be able to, use the tools at your disposal to do these kinds of things and get these folks, off the streets. But then one little slip up, and that could be it for a perfectly law-abiding citizen who just made a mistake. So that's what I try to do. I try to help people understand that it's a very, very fine line that we are all walking, because there before the grace of God go any of us if you could dig back far enough into your archive and find something. So it's
a fine line, and it's a dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially for people who are very active online.
That's right.
Those that aren't active, it's interesting because it's the flip side of the coin. As much as it could do damage to your career, it could do so much greatness for your career. So many people are sort of afraid to be found. And, as a leadership coach, this is one of the things I try to help shift people's mindsets around to get them to at least have a digital footprint. And that's where you spend your time talking.
That's it. Because, that's the other side of the coin. It's like if you have a career at all right now, or you're trying to grow it, or you have a business, you can't afford not to have a digital footprint, because that's the social proof that people look to validate who you are and your existence and what you say you're good at. So, you have to maintain that, but you got to do it right. You got to do it right, and you got to be careful.
Yeah. So let's talk about Till Death Do You Tweet and how it ramps into your book. But it started as workshops, right?
It did. It started way back when. It was a different name. It was a different time. I was an engineer formerly for Lockheed Martin. And, for anybody that doesn't know, Lockheed's a government and defense contractor. Yeah. And the work I did was top secret. So I just wasn't at liberty to discuss any of it, beyond saying, performance analysis and requirements verification. That was pretty much all you got out of me. But I had a lot of friends who were educators that would invite me to their career days at their schools. And I'm like, well, I can't really tell the kids what I do. I can talk about, what you need to have to be an engineer and things like that. But, my job itself is not super exciting and engaging because I can't talk about it. Mm-hmm. So I started talking about social media because that's where they were. Yeah. You wanted to meet them where they live, and it was just something that would get them interested and get them engaged. And as I sort of grew it and developed it, right around 2012, I had already left my job, but right at that time, there was a point in social media's sort of life cycle where the suicides from cyberbullying had spiked during that time. And kids were really just in distress around the type of information that was being posted. So, it sort of became more than just a fun way to talk about career day. To me, it really became a passion of mine because I'm like, kids are dying out here and nobody's doing anything. Nobody's saying anything. Adults seem to, tense up and get intimidated and sort of bury their heads in the sand, So I was like, somebody has to do something because these kids are dying. So, put a little bit more structure around what I did, gave it a name, gave it a logo, and really started getting out there and getting in these schools so I could hopefully affect a positive change.
That's awesome. So you used to be an engineer at Lockheed Martin. I understand, coming from the Fortune 500, I have the same kind of story. And now you're a full-on entrepreneur. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And tell us what all you do.
It's not a life I think I would have chosen for myself. But it chose me, I just be obedient to what God tells me to do.
Yes.
And he's been working it out for me.
Yes. See, people don't understand that entrepreneurship is a faith walk. As much as you plan and as much as you put all of the stones in place, you better be calling on a higher power.
Listen, or you'll go crazy. You will go absolutely crazy because it's so varied and like you said, you have your goals and your 5-year plan and your vision board and all that other stuff. And the next day it could be a completely different situation for you. So
totally.
It's fun though. I love it. I love being able to help people, especially, to understand technology and incorporate that part of my background and my education into what I'm doing now.
Right. So many people want to do what you do, what I do, speaker, author, SME on television, all of these good things. What has been the secret sauce to your sustainability besides faith? Because we've got to call on God.
Well, that's the first thing. But I think the foundation that I built this all on, I think, in today's culture, you want it fast, you want it now. Everybody wants to go viral. Everybody wants to get 1 million followers and be an influencer. And that's great. And it happens for a very, 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 very small percentage of people, most of whom don't look like us.
Right.
So, for the rest of us, for the other 99.9%, I think you really have to build something. I've been doing this since 2007.
Yeah.
And so I'm not an overnight success. I started very small. When I finally sort of, I spent a lot of time in a lot of different areas of the media, just getting my chops around storytelling and news gathering and just being in front of a camera at all and learning how to speak and sound bites and all that good stuff. But then once I decided to pivot and start, my tech career, who's that?
It's a little person. Say hi, that's Miss Stephanie. She's not on the web yet. She has no digital footprint. Mommy made sure.
And leave it like that for as long as humanly possible. I'm telling you, because once you open that bottle, you cannot put that genie back in that bottle.
Seriously, so. I made the decision not to even do what people did when the baby came, putting the sonogram. I'm like, are like, before the baby's even born,
they already have a digital footprint because you created it.
Yes.
No, I don't blame you.
You just want to say hi? Okay, go to music class. Online school is a real thing in the next room.
Listen, I'm not mad. Multitasking.
Yes. Look, people don't understand the burdens we have as mommies, working mommies.
They gave is real.
Yes.
So I got all that experience, and then when I decided to pivot and move into my back into my tech space, like I had to start over almost, and so I started blogging. I had my own little blog, like everybody else had their own little blogs, and just writing so that people could see that I could write.
Yeah.
And you use that to parlay into bigger writing assignments. Yes. So I was the tech writer for theroot.com. I wrote for Ebony Magazine, Black Enterprise, The Griot. Like I wrote for all those platforms. And then once you sort of get that base, Now you pitch the networks. Hey, I'm the tech writer for Ebony. I'd love to
Right.
talk about the new iPhone. So, you start with your local market, and then you build. It's a very iterative process.
Yes.
And you build on the successes of the past, but you do the work, you continue to do the work, and you let the thing prior inform the next thing to
I think
come.
that's
So
what a lot of
it's been
people
a journey.
miss. There are two
Yeah,
things that you've done, and one of the things you iterated so well. One is that you've had a solid platform when it comes to the one problem you solve. Very crystal clear about that.
yep,
That is your brand. That is your value proposition. And if you can't articulate it in one sentence, how do you expect people to understand it? So
that's
that's
right.
one. That's the one thing that you've done absolutely great, and you've been consistent about it. The other thing that you named that people forget in this digital age is the power of traditional media, and how that credibility that comes along with the title that you have, and this is what happened for me, contributor for Black Enterprise.
Hmm.
Besides the fact that I was working for some massive, incredible brand, that helped too.
Right.
But when you're on your own and you don't have that globe to lean on, what do you stand on?
That's right. And that was where and it was a humbling experience for me, to be perfectly honest, because I had been, again, doing a little stuff here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But when I said, I'm gonna shift into tech, it was like, okay, so I've been on TV, I've been doing these things, and I also have two engineering degrees. Like, let's
Yeah.
not get it twisted. But nobody cared.
No.
That helped to when people say, well, what makes you a tech expert, then I can just hit them with the big joker and
Yeah.
say, oh, the two engineering degrees. But it didn't really nobody beat a path to my door because of that.
Yeah.
I was only able to get on air as a tech expert after I was a tech writer
Yeah.
for a publication that people recognized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, all those credentials were cute, and they help, and they definitely inform what I do. But, you got to put in the work and a variety of different things. And like you said, you don't discount traditional media, because people still lend a lot of authority and validity to that type of thing. So, yeah.
And the other myth that I like to bust, because I come from a long background of strategic comms and PR, that just because I came from PR that I just could parlay these media opportunities. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. First of all, I hired a guy to do that. But second of all, that's not what they were looking for. They were looking for the receipts.
Right. They were looking
You
for
got
the
to have
receipt.
the receipts.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome. So look, let's talk about your book. And it's
Yes.
called Don't Let Your Digital Footprint Kick You in the Butt.
Kick you in the butt. So it is an extension of Till Death Do You Tweet, because what I had been finding, anytime I would go into these schools and talk to the kids, the principal would come up, or a teacher would come up and say, do you have anything that we could keep, to keep the conversation going, like a pamphlet or a one sheet or a book?
A book.
And I never had it. And I'm like, oh my God, number one, I'm leaving money on the table.
Yes.
And number two, there should be a thing that the kids can keep with them and refer to, over and over again, and be able to use as a guide, because I'm there for an hour and then I'm gone. And granted, I think that what I do is impactful enough, and I get enough correspondence from students years later.
Yeah.
I actually just posted a tweet last week sometime. A guy DM'd me a couple weeks ago, and he's like, you came to my school like 3 years ago, and I just want to let you know what I'm doing now, and your inspiration, da da da. So it definitely makes its impact. But how much more impactful could I be if I could leave them with this tool and this guide to help them, remember the lessons and continue the messaging? So the book kind of picks up where Till Death Do You Tweet leaves off. There are exercises in there that they can do. We get really into that LinkedIn conversation, because, in high school, you need to start building that digital footprint in a positive way. And LinkedIn's a great way to do it. So there's a whole section on how to get your profile set up and all that stuff. And we're still talking about those same themes of good and bad consequences to your digital behavior, of cyberbullying, of sexting, of all of those things. But now they have it in their hands, and they can refer to it as much as they need to.
Awesome. So let's talk to the authors and aspiring authors that are out there, because there's something else that is embedded in what you're saying here that I feel is very important. Yes, it's great to write a book, and in some cases it's instant credibility. But what I'm hearing is this is step change. This is something that you have started back in 2007, establishing the one thing that you saw, right? And you've done workshops and you've been speaking and you've had that incredible career and you've got those 2 engineering degrees and now you're in media and you've written for media. And speak to the importance of building your credibility and your reach and the benefit to doing that before hurling a book into the environment.
Oh my goodness. If I had $1 for everybody that's an expert now,
Yeah.
it's like, there are a couple ways to get there. I mean, if you have a PhD, you're an expert. You did that work. So you get to come out the gate claiming that, regardless. But for the rest of us, the only thing you have that builds that is time.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that does it. There could be, like I said, I had 2 engineering degrees already, and it didn't matter because nobody really cared. And they were like, I mean, so what have you done for me lately?
And you know what? I have to add this in. Even if you have a PhD, you have to sell that book.
You have to sell that book.
And a PhD won't sell the book.
That's true. That's true. So it's just really, you only have time to grow and establish, and that's what it takes. And nobody wants to take that time anymore. It seems like everybody wants to sort of say, and the other thing is that just because you did it doesn't make you an expert at it necessarily.
Right.
Because
there's a whole lot of that going on.
Man, I'm like, okay, you grew a 6-figure business, but the path you took to get there may not necessarily be the path that's going to work for anybody else, because they're so varied and disparate, and everybody's going to do some different things. And yes, there are key tips and takeaways from everybody's journey that can be helpful to somebody else, but that doesn't automatically qualify you to write a book and throw it out there.
I'm seeing
it's just like you have to be consistently doing the work over and over and over again before I think you can say that you're ready to put yourself out there in that way.
I can always tell the hustlers from the planners, because what you just described is so true. Once they're successful in a place, and God bless them, you did that.
Absolutely.
Okay, you did that, right?
I'm not hating. Yeah.
Then they start selling workshops and webinars on, and you can do it too. And I want to say, wait, whoa, Nelly, first of all.
You know what I call it? I call it selling the game.
Yes.
And you can see it you can spot it a mile away, but unfortunately there's a very specific formula that goes along with that, with the funnels and all the rest of that stuff. And unfortunately people fall for it every time. And that's why people keep doing it.
Yeah.
But you sell the game.
And you start to see them dabbling in areas that are outside of their realm.
Yes.
And that's when I go back to this. You have not established your one thing. Because if you establish your one thing, you've already established the boundaries. And there's certain places you will not go. Now, it's one thing to have your one thing and your value proposition, but your value proposition also says how you do it.
That's right.
So for me, I'm a communicator. I do it through speaking, writing, and coaching. Period.
Right. Put that T on the end there.
Period. Right. And I see other people that are great at one area, but then they start, suddenly I'm a coach.
And then tomorrow I'm, and then the next day and there's nothing wrong with having, multiple
That's not the
interests
point.
and even being talented in different things. We all have a bevy. God bless us all with a whole bunch of stuff. But you can't be a jack of all trades. And I think people, they find that one entry point and then think they are just going to blow the door open and do it all. And it's like, you're doing too much at this point.
You got to know your why. And it can't just be, let me see how many different ways I can monetize my audience. because
Yes.
people will figure it out.
That's right. That's right. And the backlash will be swift.
Yes.
It will be swift.
So
Yeah.
what's coming up for you, Stephanie?
So I am I don't know how much I can say.
Okay.
But there may be a podcast
All
in my
right.
future. We'll see. Or some other sort of streaming platform type content thing. Definitely more content. I'm hoping to expand the 60-second tech break to at least 3 days a week, if not daily. And yeah, just more speaking engagements, more TV, more of everything.
Awesome. And so when do we see you next on GMA 3, or is that just when they call?
That's kind of when they call.
Yeah.
When I pitch, when they call, yeah, I'm just like I said, I'm on standby to jump in there whenever they need me.
Yeah. I've been doing some of that with a local NBC affiliate. It's been going pretty well.
That's
a
awesome.
lot of fun.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
But you know what, Stephanie, I really appreciate you. Where can people find you online on social?
They can find me all around the web at Tech Life Steph, because that's, brand consistency. So, on every social platform at Tech Life Steph. And my website is tilldeathdoyoutweet.com.
And where can they get the book?
They can get the book on Amazon.
Good.
It's available. Don't let your digital footprint kick you in the butt.
Awesome. And folks, please don't. I don't want to be talking about you during the Culture Soup moment, okay?
I know.
Stephanie, it's been a blast.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a wonderful conversation.
And listen, if you don't mind, I'd love to have you come on again at some point and maybe do some tech.
Listen,
Talk to us about
let's
some
do
gadgets.
it anytime.
Awesome.